and my soul can't even taste my chocolate orange. I miss my body already. Soul, directed by Pete Docter, director of the best Pixar movie Monsters Inc., as well as Up and Inside Out, and is the 23rd animated feature from Pixar overall, as well as the second Pixar movie to be released in 2020. Soul tells the story of a jazz teacher at a middle school in New York, Joe Gardner, voiced by Jamie Foxx, and he has felt like his life has amounted to nothing. He feels unfulfilled with his job as a jazz teacher, and he's been consistently turned down the opportunity to play at a jazz gig until one lucky day he gets the gig that he has always dreamed of, and that is to him the best day of his life. That is until he gets overly excited that he doesn't notice a hole in the middle of the road he's walking on, and he falls down it, and his soul is separated from his body, and he escapes death and ends up in the Great Before, in which souls are born and they jump down to earth to find a body and find their purpose. And Joe meets up with a soul named 22, voiced by Tina Fey, and helps her find her spark or a purpose when she finally gets to experience life, and Joe discovers there may be more to life than jazz. 9 months ago, Pixar gave us their modern take on the fantasy genre, Onward, one of Pixar's most critically underrated movies for me. I mean, I initially rated that movie 4 stars, but now I boosted my rating up to 5. I placed Soul as number 5 on my most anticipated movies of 2020 list for good reason. It was a Pixar movie not directed by any Pixar director, but by Pete Docter, the king of Pixar himself. Can this guy just direct all Pixar movies? I mean, he's the director of Monsters Inc., my all-time favourite Pixar movie, and Up is still the weakest of the 4 Pixar movies he directed for me personally, but it's still an unspeakably good movie, and Inside Out is still in a top tier, top 5 favourite Pixar movie of mine. I mean that movie made me cry incredibly hard, and still does 5 years later. And I hope you all had the merriest Christmas, and and if you did get to see Soul on Christmas Day on Disney Plus, then this movie is a superb Christmas present, because Soul, like Pete Docter's other works, is nothing short of a complete masterpiece. It's still not Pete Docter's best in my opinion, nor is it my number 1 favourite Pixar movie. No way is it better than Monsters Inc., but it is, in my ranking, spoiler alert for my ranking, maybe my 6th favourite. Well, it sure does make my top 10. I mean, this is one of the most adult, mature, thought-provoking and soulful animated features that Pixar have ever done, and it's easily the most mind-blowing animated movie of 2020. Sorry, Onward, but Soul has just topped you and taken your place at my number 1 spot. If only all animation would quit using the generic kids movie formula and try to be more adult and have a soul. I mean, then the Academy may consider animation Best Picture material. That Soul had better be the first Pixar movie to receive a Best Picture nomination since Up. It deserves it, all right. And well, uh, what I mean, it's and and it's a real shame that the COVID pandemic has prevented this movie from seeing the big screen. Because I mean, sure, this movie looks stunning on the small screen. Of course, this movie is a technical marvel in terms of animation. That's the most obvious praise for any Pixar movie. And by 2020, I mean, the sky is the limit to what Pixar can do with 3D animation. I mean, the the great before and the the afterlife world. It's Pixar's most imaginative and breathtaking world that they have invented since Riley's head of from Inside Out, uh, and even New York itself looks remarkable on a technical level. I mean, there are, I mean, Soul has some of the most eye-popping cinematography in any Pixar movie. I mean, there are literally sky shots of New York from up above, not just in the town, but New York feels like it's alive and living and breathing. I mean, it looks like, you forget you're watching an animated New York at times. It looked like a live action New York. I mean, and the movie does a great job of balancing the time that it spends in both worlds. We get just as big a picture of the great before as we do New York. And New York, we got to see the community that Joel lives in his everyday life, from his apartment to his mum's home, to the barbers he goes to his middle school class, and and uh, and the great before has such a laid back and calm atmosphere. I mean, it's more peaceful than most afterlife portrayals in movies. And and Joe himself. I mean, this is Jamie Foxx's greatest performance. In his first ever voice acting job, he is jolly good, and Joe is one of Pixar's most humanized and relatable protagonists. As I mean, we, I mean, we tend to take the little things in life, for granted, and overlook them as we live our lives. But through uh, but spoiler alert, his soul gets transported into a cat in the hospital, and 22's soul gets transported into his body through when he's guiding 22 through the streets of New York, through 22's experience in his body. And she is beginning to see the little pleasures of life. I mean, he finally has a epiphany towards the third act of the movie, where he realizes, uh, even though he's felt like he was destined to be a jazz player. I mean, jazz is like the food he eats and the air he breathes. To him, he's convinced it's something he can't live without, and he would have failed at life if he can't be a jazz player. But after his first gig, he doesn't get the satisfactory feel he hoped he would, as he realizes life isn't all about your dream goal. There's far more to it than that. Don't waste a minute of your life. Live every minute of it. I mean, that is a message that everybody should live by. Enjoy your time on this earth, and every single day while you've still got your life. And yeah, I mean, no other animated movie this year has had a message that bold or that profound. And 22 would be my favourite character in this movie, Tina Fey. She is going for gold with her voice acting, and 22 is the character you feel the most sorry for. I mean, because she's just a soul, and she has always been put down by everybody and told she's not good enough for life and to be on Earth. And when she finally gets the chance to live in Joe's body, she's like, what have I been missing? And yeah, and you just you just I just cried my heart out for her when she was when she became a lost soul at the end. And that was a genius storytelling that you thought the movie was going to be 22 helping Joe uh, you know get back to his life, but it turns out to be a story about Joe helping 22, find her happiness. And there's no antagonist in this movie. He's not really a villain. He's just doing his job of making sure no soul leaves the grate before without permission. So it was brave of this movie to not have a villain just for the sake of a villain. I I did initially criticize the trailer for looking like a rip-off of Inside Out and for feeling like it had a lack of threat or a villain. But yeah, my initial trailer review was overly critical. It needed no villain, and it couldn't be more different from Inside Out. And even though Soul is a Pixar movie that's aimed more at adults, it's the kind of Pixar movie that an adult can watch while the kids are off doing something else. It never forgets to include a comedy with charm. I never had a problem with this movie's humour as it tied into the beautiful message of the story, especially these scenes where Joe is in the cat's body and 22 is trying to blend in and act normal in Joe's body. This movie did the transition of a human into a cat's body and perfectly. Take that, 9 lives. My favourite supporting character in the film would have to be one of Joe's students, this girl who is an expert at the trombone. She's the only student in Joe's music class who is putting in any effort, and she goes to Joe's apartment in the middle of the movie, and she's thinking about quitting the band, but 22 and Joe's body convinces her to keep going and not to. I kind of wish her character got a little more focus and got to play a larger role in the overall narrative, because I loved her that much. And it's so poignant that a movie about treasuring life comes out in a year like this one, because this year's has taught us the lesson to always be thankful for what we have. So everybody, I feel, will connect with this movie on some emotional level. If I did have one nitpick with this movie, I would say it's just a tad too short. I wish there were more, flashbacks to Joe's childhood. Maybe we could have gotten a flashback to see how his father passed away and to see how his relationship with his mother was more when he was a kid. Just things like that to make his epiphany just slightly more emotional at the end. But still, Soul is a stupendous Pixar classic, It is the true animated masterpiece of 2020.
I give Soul 5 stars out of 5. Best movie ever.
This was the perfect movie to end 2020 on a positive note. So, well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what are your thoughts on Soul, and which Pixar movie this year did you like better, Onward or Soul? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. But please follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'll see you all next time. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.